like waiting for regions.
Are we good? We good?
We're good.
Okay. I hereby call this meeting of the Milburn CC School District 24 Board of Education to order for our regular Board of Education meeting on March 18th, 2024 at 7:01 PM. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
John Lorenzen,
Here.
Brendan Murphy,
Here.
Peter Petrini,
Here.
Jillian Phelps, here, John Ruggles,
Here.
Brad Spectrum,
Here.
and Lisa Loser, here.
Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, I assume we have lots of public comments.
We do.
Okay, let's go over a few things first before we start that. Everyone gets 3 minutes tops, okay? And please stay by the podium. We'll try to see how far we can get. We did receive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, correct?
I have 13.
6, I have 6 here, maybe they're a little messy, but
6 requested to be read in public. There was 13 total comments.
It's really hard to hear you.
oh, sorry. We're making sure we're going over. We are saying that we received 6 emails to be read in public. Just so you know, at the beginning of this session for the board, we agreed not to read these comments for public. We changed that at COVID. Yes, we did. So, I want everyone who sent those emails to know that we did read them. We do appreciate them. We did take them under consideration.
It says in the agenda that you will read them.
That is
Under
incompatible.
public comments, it says that you will read them.
Oh, that's,
It does?
You've read them at previous
yeah,
meetings.
that's a mistake.
That's a mistake? Okay.
After public thinking.
The board did change that last call. That's my mistake for leaving that on there, but the board can do that. Okay,
Again, I think they need to hear you in the back.
I'll do my best.
Those comments are sent in good faith that they would be read.
It's on the agenda to read them.
It is true.
It's on the agenda, yes.
Okay, so we can read them.
We can read.
If the board is willing to change the rules, ad hoc basis.
I think we should read them.
Okay,
If
that's
they
fine.
were-
I'm-
if they.
I'm just going by the policy. If we want to read them, we
No,
can
I
read them.
thought it- just one person's opinion, I think.
Is that, do we have a consensus of the board to read it?
I'm fine with reading.
Sure. Okay, all right, that's fine. As long as we have a consensus on the board to do it, we'll do it. I'm gonna need more water.
I got a half gallon.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Spread them out.
Some of us who can't hear in the back, step forward.
No, that's fine.
All here.
That's fine.
You can move, if you want to move a couple chairs up closer, that might be helpful too. We'll give you,
They want to pass these over.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. You always kind of talk about indoor and outdoor going. Back of the room, making sure.
And
Okay, so we have them all passed out?
Yeah.
We are not going, we take public comments. We want you to know, it's not a back and forth. We're not here to answer, it's how it's set up. It's not gonna be a back and forth where we ask questions and you ask them and it goes back and forth. You're just reading a statement for 3 minutes. We're taking it into consideration. So, okay, just so everyone knows the rules beforehand. All right, who has them? 1, 2. Okay, all right, so we'll start. Ruggles, you read one off. I got 2.
Dear School Board, I'm writing to address the recent discussions regarding the potential elimination of our longstanding reading program, Monarch, Blue Stem, and Bottle. This comes to my attention that concerns have been raised, suggesting that the program may harbor political biases. particularly leaning towards the left or liberal ideologies. I feel compelled to provide a rebuttal to these claims. First and foremost, and I assume you all agree, it is essential to emphasize that the primary aim of a reading program is to foster critical thinking skills, encourage empathy, and promote a love for learning among our students. The materials selected for this program, for the many years it has been in place, are chosen with careful consideration of their educational value, literary merit, and ability to engage students from diverse backgrounds. I have read many of these books with my children when they attended Milburn. I feel it's a great list of reading, and when a viewpoint is expressed that I don't agree with, it has proven an invaluable tool to frame and have discussion with my child. All parents should be familiar with what a child is reading. Schools should expose kids to different viewpoints. Parents should be the primary stakeholder to reading. Schools should expose kids to different. Parents should be the primary stakeholder to have conversations about these viewpoints and perspectives. This reading program has provided books to encourage dialogue between child and parent for a long time, and it's among the many tools that make Milburn such a great and desired school district. While it's inevitable that certain texts may touch upon themes or topics that have political implications, it's crucial to recognize that exposure to diverse perspectives is an integral part of education. Our students must be equipped with the skills to analyze and evaluate information critically, regardless of its ideological leanings. By engaging with a variety of viewpoints, students develop the capacity for informed decision-making and respectful discourse, skills that are indispensable in a free society. I don't agree with the flag burning or people kneeling during the national anthem, but I do agree that people in a free society should have the freedom to do these things. This is coming from a vet who has served for that flag and national anthem. Furthermore, it's worth noting that the accusation of a political bias is subjective and open to interpretation. What one individual may perceive as liberal or left-leaning, another may view as promoting essential values such as empathy, social justice, environmental stewardship. It is not the intention of a reading program to indoctrinate students with any particular ideology, but rather to expose them to a broad spectrum of ideas and perspectives, allowing them to form their own opinions through critical inquiry. Kids are exposed to many things earlier in life than ever before. While I tried to shelter my children at the time, I failed based on the many ways that things get through. I decided that instead of sheltering my children, I explored the content they are exposed to and engaged in critical thinking and encouraged empathy. Sometimes I was successful, sometimes I failed, but most importantly, and specific to this reading list, I had content to frame a conversation. Eliminating a reading program based on unsubstantiated claims of political bias not only undermines the principles of academic freedom and intellectual diversity, but also deprives our students of valuable educational opportunities. Instead of censoring material out of fear or controversy, we should embrace the richness of human experience reflected in the literature and empower our students to engage with it thoughtfully. Specifically, I'd like to ask the school board to provide more detailed data perspective on the accusation that our reading program exhibits political bias, particularly leaning towards left or liberal ideologies. Without clear and substantive evidence, it becomes challenging to address these concerns effectively and make informed decisions that uphold the integrity of our educational system. Therefore, I respectfully request that the school board define what constitutes political bias within the context of our reading program. What specific criteria are being used to assess whether text or material is deemed political bias? Provide examples of text or materials with the reading program that are perceived to exhibit political bias. What aspects of these materials are considered problematic and how do they align with the alleged political leanings? Present data or empirical evidence supporting the claim of political bias in our reading programs. Are there any quantitative analyses or studies that have been conducted to substantiate these allegations? Seek input and perspective from a diverse range of stakeholders, including educators, parents, students, subject matter experts, to ensure a holistic understanding of the issue. How do different members of our community perceive the alleged political bias, and what insights can they offer to inform the discussion? The school board having opinions is not enough. Consider the broader educational objectives and principles guiding our reading program. How do conservative political bias align with our goals of promoting critical thinking and intellectual growth among our students? By engaging in transparent and inclusive dialogue, we can address these concerns collaboratively and uphold the principles of academic freedom. academic freedom, intellectual diversity, and educational excellence that are essential to our mission as a school district. This cannot be decided because one or a handful of members of the board has the opinion that the reading program is biased. In conclusion, I urge the school board member to reconsider its stance on the proposed elimination of the reading program. Let us reaffirm our commitment to providing our students with a well-rounded education that fosters critical thinking, empathy, and a lifelong love for learning, all of which are essential for their success in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. Thank you. Parents of 3 students who attended Wilmer.
And what was their names?
Jeff Lind and Moira Lind.
Right?
Yep.
Good evening. I am unable to attend the regular board meeting this evening. The statement below is for public comment regarding an action item on tonight's agenda, participation in the Reader's Choice Award Program. My name is Denise I. My family and I have lived in Milburn District since 2015. All 3 of our children attended Milburn for elementary and middle school. From 2017 to 2021, I had the privilege of serving on the Milburn Board of Education. As a former board member, I do not understand why there is an action item on tonight's agenda regarding the participation in the Reader's Choice Award Program. This is not board work. A school board member's place is in the balcony, not on the dance floor. As a board member, if you are trying to make decisions from the dance floor, you are wasting time. Not only are you wasting the time of the administrators and teachers by creating more work, you are wasting your own time that could be used to take on care of board business. The books on the list are thoroughly reviewed by educators, librarians to ensure the books selected meet the Illinois learning standards. The beauty of being a board member is that you are not expected to be well versed on all of the standards. We can leave that to the experts, our teachers. It is only natural that these lists look different in 2024 than it started in 1988. We are fortunate to live in a time where there are significantly more books available to our young readers, books that represent all walks of life. These book lists can now better represent more of our students' experiences. Keep in mind that anyone can submit a book recommendation. Here are the links if you'd like to submit a book for consideration on the 2026 list. One thing we can agree on is that every parent's right to determine what books are suitable for their children to read at what time. There are already systems in place to facilitate this. I do not think it is reasonable to have any of the kids in the district stop participating in the outstanding program because there are a few board members that think that this list is too left-leaning and that books about racism are inappropriate and offensive. While some may be able to delay the exposure of this topic for their children, many families in the district do not have this luxury. When a person states that these books are inappropriate and offensive, it sends a message to students that their experiences don't matter. If this is truly to be a district that exists to create a culture of learning and inspires and empowers students to reach our community, then you will vote to continue to participate in these programs. Thank you for your time, Denise I.
Okay,
All right, so this one is from Scott Ugrin, and for some reason, I did not receive this email. It looks like mine and Jillian's email address have the %20 before our names, so I don't know how that happened, but
It came after 6, maybe it was late.
yeah.
Did you read your emails up?
Oh, yeah, just up until I forgot.
Oh, okay.
All right, so from Scott Ugrin, Dear Board of Education, my name is Scott Ugrin, and I am writing on behalf of myself and my wife, Lindsay Gautner Ugrin. We are parents of a kindergarten student at Milburn Elementary School. We would like to voice our support for the continued participation of Milburn District in the Reader's Choice Program. After viewing the BOE meeting on 3/11/2024, and specifically Board Member Ruggles' comments and questions, we are concerned with the direction that this debate seems to be heading. We feel strongly that our children should have exposure to various topics and learning experiences in life. Our job as parents is to give them the tools they need to critically appraise ideas and decide if they have merit and whether or not they agree. This is not the same thing as pretending that certain ideas do not exist or pretending that other people do not hold certain opinions. It is important that as parents, we are there to help guide our children and have difficult conversations. This is not to say that all content is appropriate for all ages. We have been watching the national trend of certain books containing explicit material being excluded from classrooms and libraries in some states and agree that some concepts are not appropriate for children. But this does not look to be the case here. We have looked at the books contained in the lists and have seen no evidence of explicit concepts being promoted. We don't even see evidence of a political bent one way or another in the list. Board Member Ruggles' argument was that because he was not ready to have a conversation with his child, therefore we should not allow any children in the district to participate. Punishing other children because you are uncomfortable having a conversation with your child is not a position that we want our BOE members holding. We are sending our children to the school to learn, not to read for entertainment, as Mr. Ruggles stated. He felt our books should be. We buy our children plenty of books, including books that are just for entertainment purposes. But this is not what we are looking for within our child's school district. We hope that the board does the right thing and approves continuation of the district's participation in the program. Thank you for your time, Scott and Lindsay Ugrin.
Good afternoon. My name is Kate Dean. It has been brought to my attention that someone wants to take away our summer reading program. I believe this is a mistake. We have been part of Milburn for the past 12 years. We love this program and the Caudle books. My oldest child that attended Milburn is turning 20 in April. When she attended Milburn, she would always read several of the suggested books and we would always discuss them. She always picked books that she wouldn't normally come across. I also have a Milburn graduate that is about to turn 16. 2 children currently attending Milburn and one going into kindergarten next year. All my kids have loved these books. They like learning about and seeing different perspectives of people going and their lives. I believe it makes them have an open mind about things and people they knew nothing about. Makes them more accepting of situations that are likely to come up in their lifetime. I know some of these books are controversial, as they should be. It makes us better human beings to read things that aren't about how we live our lives, but about what others face and go through. To some, it gives courage, to some, comfort, and to others, discomfort, but that's okay too. Those types of books make us think deeper, especially if they make us uncomfortable. I would be very disappointed if these books disappeared, as would my children. Over the years, we have discussed many of these books, and most of my kids have read books not only for their year, but also from previous years. We love our books and our summer reading program. Please don't let them take it away from us. Sincerely, Kate Dean.
We're gonna need to cut down on the applause because we have a lot to get through first. Okay. All right, mine. This is from Kyle Keys. Hello, I would like the following to be read as part of the public comment portion of the meeting on 3/18. Thank you. My name is Kyle Keys and I have been a part of this community for over 20 years. All 3 of my boys went through Milburn K-8. The recent discussion about removing the Caudle program has me very concerned about the future of education in this district. The Caudle program here at Milburn has proven to generate excitement and enthusiasm for reading and learning for many years. However, at the most recent board meeting, there was an objection to the entire program because at least one member felt the reading list was quote unquote political. While listening to the meeting, the justification provided for removing a successful program designed to get kids reading and furthermore has proven to get middle school kids excited about reading was a single book that contained factual references to a former president. The Caudle books are evaluated by 80 people who have dedicated their education and their professional lives to the betterment of children and to the education of children. It is run with strict guidelines for inclusion on the list of books. Removing this program due to the political sensitivities of the board would be a setback for the children and of the community. Furthermore, this decision should not be a board decision at all. These decisions should be made based on the input of professionals who we hire to teach our children at Milburn. This isn't policy. There isn't any objection that these books belong in the school. I do not find the Caudle books or the program to be political. What I do think would be transparently political would be if this school board killed a productive program over the objections of the teachers and staff because some board members object to factual elements of a single book on the list. Thank you.
You want to do your second one?
No, I'll finish up. 1, 2, and then I'll finish up.
My name is Wyatt Keys. I attended Milburn from kindergarten through 8th grade. I can't be there tonight because I have an English class, but I want to give my support to the Reader's Choice program. I actually remember some of the activities from elementary school, but I definitely remember the middle school and Caudle books. It was always fun to get to go to the library and choose a book. Extra fun if there were activities and prizes. I always liked to read, but I never read all 20 Caudle books. Some of them didn't sound interesting to me, while others made me want to find more books like them. I think it's important to read a variety, not just for entertainment, but to learn about other perspectives and places. It's also important to have a fun reading program. I would not have read as many books as I did if there wasn't a reading program at school. I don't think the program should be taken away.
Hello, my name is Hannah Mueller, and I'm an alumni of Milburn District 24, a librarian for a local high school and a member of the nominations committee for the Abe Lincoln Teen Choice Award. I am writing this comment in response to BOE and their participation in Illinois Reader Choice Program. I attended Milburn schools from kindergarten until I graduated in 8th grade. School was not always easy for me. For much of my academic career, I struggled in math and reading. In 3rd grade, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, dyslexia. With dyslexia, reading was incredibly challenging. Accessing the written word took a tremendous amount of work. For many years, I believed I could never be a reader, that books were simply not for me or something that I could enjoy. It wasn't until I started to read books off the Caudle list that my love for reading grew. These books that were recommended by librarians and teachers finally allowed me to access reading in a way I could not before. I remember the first time I opened a 2001 Caudle winner, Harry Potter, and my world was changed. I wasn't only reading it, I was enjoying the act of reading. Harry Potter was just the start. I became a voracious reader. Every book I could get my hands on, I would read. Not only did I become a more confident reader, but a more confident kid. I could finally fit in. I wasn't struggling nearly as much academically. I was scoring well on state tests, especially in reading. Finding Harry Potter was just a start. Numerous other Caudle books became my favorites, like Aragon and Hold. These books paved the way for me to successfully access my education. They changed my educational career in ways to support classes, teacher aides, interventions, and accommodations could not. Reading and loving reading was what made the difference. I started to enjoy school and learning. I went on to no longer needed such intensive support in high school, and by the time I got to college, I was seeing success independently. I went on to graduate my master's in library and information science. I was inspired by my time in Milburn schools and the kind librarians who helped change my life. I'm just one former student that has a story like this. These lists and this direct encouragement of reading for fun can change people's lives. Without access to a Reader's Choice program, I don't believe I'd be where I am today. I cannot imagine the damage removing this program would do to students at Milburn. The ramifications of banning a statewide program will be great. In a time where we are seeing a historic drop in students reading for enjoyment, removing such a program would be more than just a mistake, but an act of educational neglect to every student at Milburn School. I hope the board truly considers the cost to students and their educational outcomes before making such a major decision. Thank you for your time, Hannah Mueller.
Mr. Linden, Milburn Board of Education. I am unable to, oh, this is from Crystal Pin. Crystal Pin, if you want to write it down. I am unable to attend tomorrow's board meeting, but would like to share my thoughts for public comment. Please read my comment into the record during the meeting, as I have seen you done for others over the years. I have taken care to keep it less than 3 minutes while read in my cadence. Members of the board, my name is Crystal Pin. I'm a stay-at-home mother and a former BOE member of Antioch District 34 and a staunch believer in students and readers' rights. It is from all these perspectives that I wish to communicate with you this evening. Your conversation regarding the Reader's Choice programs at your March 11th meeting was problematic, in my opinion, for several reasons. For starters, with my BOE hat on, I had to wonder if you've gone through the training as a new board yet. Will you understand for reference when I'm asking you if getting into the weeds on this elective supplemental program because of unfounded political opinions based on an incomplete reading of one of last year's books demonstrates that you're operating from the dance floor or from the balcony? Boards are supposed to deal in policy and hiring and evaluating the superintendent. The staff is supposed to deal in operations of the district. I do see in your policy that states you may approve curriculum. I think you're operating under misdefined terms. If I were Member Wooster, your IASB liaison, I would want to call in IASB to check in to make sure the board is operating within the bounds of good governance with clearly defined terms of what is curriculum and what does not mean to approve curriculum. I think it is important for the board to take this step to check themselves, as your district's community members have been advised to question IASB about this as well. As a mother and students' rights advocate, I must ask you to think about what your vote on this matter would mean. If you vote to nix these programs, you are telling the students of Milburn 24 that their voices are not as important as those of other Illinois students. You are not going to keep the lists out of their hands. I will personally hand deliver them door to door if it comes to it. You are not going to keep them from reading and discussing them. You'll just be robbing them of the chance to have their opinions count for something. As a mother in another district, I can tell you, I doubt the mothers in your district will quietly stand by and watch you silence their kids. As an advocate of all things reading related, I was appalled at the alternative suggestion presented at the last meeting. I could not believe my ears when I heard someone who demonstrated an utter lack of reading experience. There are plenty of messages in the Twilight series, and I'm certain that professionals in the field of reading would be more than happy to explain it to you. The gall to imply that somehow your board is more qualified to select a potential award-winning book than 80 vetted reading professionals who spent almost a year following a rigorous standardized procedure is really beyond the pale. Your staff of library professionals did a great job explaining the history and purpose of the programs to you. The public that you're charged with representing also saw the presentation, and we will be watching to see if you are pushing a personal agenda or voting in the best interest of their children. Honor those students and vote to uphold their right to continue to have their choices count. Thank you, Crystal Pitt.
Brent,
Two more.
then, yes,
Oh, we had 6.
We had 6.
Which ones?
there's Jean Vargas, this one came in
I got it.
late. You have it?
And then
Karina E.
Got hers too.
Okay,
and Rachel Janke.
And Rachel, yep, got them.
give one to Brendan, one to Lisa, and you can read one.
there was one that came in from Emily, 704. It's really nice. But it is late.
It is
And
late.
really nice letter allowed. To Milburn Board of Education, while I am unable to attend tonight's board meeting, I found it imperative to send an email voicing my disappointment in the board after listening to last week's board meeting. It seems that the Board of Education is discussing and perhaps voting on the removal of the Reader's Choice and Caudle Book Program at Milburn District 24. I'm a member of the Milburn community and have educated 2 children within the Milburn school system. During our time at Milburn, it was an exceptional education, highly regarded by other school systems as well. The math and reading curriculum, along with the cooperation and collaboration of staff and board members, made this occur. This now seems to be eroded. I listened to John Rubble speak last week about his opinion on one part of one book within the Reader's Choice list, and that based on this, he would like Milburn to not have this educational opportunity. While I hear that he believes it is perhaps a left-leaning political book, one could argue that others might find another book on the list to be right-leaning. One cannot control the opinions of others, and I do not believe the books were put on the list to celebrate politics either side. There is an entire list to choose from, not just 1 or 2 books. I would encourage John, the board, and all the Milburn community, however, to see if the program as a whole is beneficial for the children in an educational sense, and not just discard the program based on 1 book. If the benefits outweigh any negatives, the program should be kept. The phrase, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater," comes to mind. In my work, we tend to look for patterns and themes. Does the Reader's Choice program have the pattern or theme of being political? Does the pattern or theme exist over time, multiple lists over years? Or is this one exception from 1 book that John Ruggles read and outlined? Conversely, does the Reader's Choice program have the pattern or theme of being superb, a superb addition to our educational curriculum? I would encourage the Milburn board to investigate the Reader's Choice program more before removing it entirely, because 1 board member read part of 1 book and was offended. If the choice is made that the program is not viable, a different program should be implemented before removal of the current one by staff that are trained in curriculum development. The choice and implementation of educational programs is not the Board of Education's specialty nor purview. Sincerely, Jean K. Vargas.
Okay, this is from Karina Esquivel. Hello. My comment is in regards to our schools being a participant in the Reader's Choice Award program. I strongly urge the board to keep the reading program active for students across all grade levels. My son is in second grade and has been at Milburn taking part in the Monarch Reading Program. Particularly this year, he was excited for the program. It encouraged him to read, ask questions about the books, and be excited to learn in a fun way. He made it his goal to read all 20 books on the list and then ventured to add additional books we already had at home or from the library. In my opinion, the process to choose these books annually is thorough and well thought out and does not seem politically motivated, nor do the books swing more left-wing or right. There may be books in the past, present, or even future that may have topics some are not comfortable with. However, as a parent, I knew I could opt my kids out of reading any of the books as I deemed necessary. All the books were age appropriate and good reads for his age, several of which probed insightful questions to learn more. The program is fun and at the same time sparks curiosity, an open mind, and critical thinking about the storylines. I strongly urge that we continue the programs like this. Programs like this that celebrate reading and curiosity. Thanks. Karina Esquivel, Milburn Elementary parent.
Dear Milburn School Board members, I'm a parent of sixth grade and second grade students at Milburn District 24. I do not believe it is the role of a local school board to dictate curriculum. That said, if called for a vote, I hope that you will vote in favor of continuing the Reader's Choice program. There is abundant data that demonstrates the positive impact of giving students choice in what they read. The following information, along with references and several other points, can be found in this report from Scholastic. The research based on student-selected reading is robust and conclusive. Students read more, understand more, and are more likely to continue reading when they have the opportunity to choose what they read. In addition, self-selected reading is twice as powerful as teacher-selected reading in developing motivation and comprehension. Emphasizing academic reading over personal reading is short-sighted and undermines students' long-term literacy development. Self-selected reading is more powerful than teacher-selected reading in development, motivation, and comprehension. An essential aspect of becoming a real reader is knowing yourself as a reader, made possible through wide reading driven by access to abundant books and personal choice. I look forward to the board meeting this evening. Thank you, Rachel Jenke.
PhD.
All right. Guys, we're gonna cut down on the class. Well, I mean, maybe they can clap a little bit, see if people go back.
The conference class, just a.
Yeah, like, we got a lot of people that want to talk, so let's cut it down so everyone has their turn.
All right, first one is Leah Nevin.
This one?
Hi. My name is Leah Nevin, and I'm a junior at Lakes Community High School. During my freshman year, I created the Gender Queer petition. My petition fought for an LGBTQIA+ book called Gender Queer to be put back on school shelves after being restricted and put behind the circulation desk at Antioch and Lakes High Schools. My petition had over 500 signatures, was featured in the Chicago Tribune multiple times, and the Lake County Gazette. Soon after the petition was started, the district board and superintendent agreed to put the book back on the shelves for both Antioch Community High School and Lakes Community High School. So clearly, this is not my first time being at a board meeting. I've gone to countless school board meetings and even town hall meetings. Now my concern goes to District 24 School District, as the Caudell Book Award is on the brink of being discontinued. These books are not only award-winning, but some of them changed my life, such as the graphic novel Smile. Smile was my favorite book from 6th grade to 8th grade, as it helped me realize who I am as a person and how to stand up for yourself. I fully believe that Smile contributed to my ability to stand up for what I believe in, as the main character grew to be more confident in herself by the end of the book. And the funny thing is that I checked out Smile at my middle school library. This proves that students should have access to books that not only educate them, but include diverse topics. I genuinely don't know what kind of person I would be if it wasn't for Smile. Censorship of books should never be allowed in public schools or other places of education. Celebrating differences is and will never be left with meaning, as celebrating differences is the foundation of embracing kindness. Thank you for your time.
All right, we have Liz Muller.
My name is Liz Muller, and I'm reading a comment that my daughter asked me to present. My name is Emily Muller. I attended Milburn from kindergarten through 8th grade. I am proud that my name is still on a brick outside of the middle school. I am now a student at Columbia University in New York City, where I am also a graduate researcher and a student scholar at Columbia's Institute of Global Politics. Today, I want to talk about the Caudle program, specifically addressing Mr. Ruggles' comment, quote, "Why would we celebrate a reading list that is culturally and politically bent?" End quote. As a former Milburn learner, I want to say an uncomfortable truth, that life exists beyond Milburn. At the last meeting, a young man spoke about how books introduce us to different cultures and people, something he found important as he started his high school education at Lakes. And I couldn't agree more, as someone now in my 6th year of higher education. It was through books on the Caudle list, like any small goodness, that I first learned to understand peers who didn't grow up like me, who didn't look like me or pray like me, but wanted to be my friend all the same. I ended up moving abroad for 5 years. It was books on the Caudle list, like One-Handed Catch, that were the first time I read a story about a child with a disability. I connected to the boy in the book and no longer felt alone as I began to grapple with my own mobility impairment. It was the Caudle program that taught me how to think critically by giving me my first ever opportunity to review and vote on literature, something that set me up for success in academic environments. Returning to the question, quote, "Why would we celebrate a reading list that is culturally and politically bent?" End quote. I want to ask, what does it mean for a book to have a cultural and political bend? Does preventing this so-called cultural and political bend mean we stop showing children stories of people who look differently than them, who have had different lived experiences? Does it mean we isolate conversations on prejudice to the social studies classroom? If so, taking away the Caudle list is no victory. It is a disservice. I am forever grateful for the joy that the Caudle program brought me and how it allowed me to read books alongside other children in the state. More than that, I am grateful that the Caudle list was both my first encounter with disability representation and my first exposure to experiences different than my own. It made me feel understood and made me understand others. Is that not something that we want Milburn learners today to experience too? Keep the Caudle list. Thank you.
We have Esther Hubbard.
Good evening. My name is Esther Hubbard. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you again today on this topic. I wanted to remind you all of an experience that I had in working closely with District 117 administration, and particularly with the administration and staff at Lakes Community High School from 2006 until 2015. As a regular volunteer and a board of director and president of the Booster Club at Lakes Community High School, I was privileged to meet a variety of different instructors and administrators throughout the district. And repeatedly and often, we were reminded of the academic excellence that the students who matriculated from the Milburn School District brought to the community at District 117, particularly at Lakes High School, to the point where we were rapidly enhancing academic rigor and excellence at the other feeder schools in District 41 and 34 in order to bring those other students up to the same caliber that the Milburn School District matriculated their children. It's really important, I think, for us as taxpayers, and we all pay a lot of taxes to our schools because our schools represent the majority of the tax base for us in terms of property taxes. I'd like to remind you of that preparation and that excellence, and the reason that the homes in the Milburn School District have just a higher rate of return than the other schools that are feeding into District 117. And I also wanted to remind you that if in fact you disseminate dismiss this whole program, it jeopardizes, if you've heard from the letters and other people who've spoken today, you're not doing yourselves a service in terms of the district. And I think I remember hearing something about maybe might be a need for a referendum. I don't know if you're gonna get a referendum passed if you do this as well. So I'd like to encourage you to think about your major responsibility, which is a financial responsibility for the district, and maybe leave the curriculum to those who are a little bit better prepared for it. Thank you so much for your time.
Any stats?
Hi again. I am Carrie Stotts. I am a teacher, a middle school librarian, a member of the Rebecca Cottle State Evaluation Committee, but most importantly, above all the other things, I'm a proud Milburn mom for over 16 years. Students deserve to learn about a broad range of diverse people, places, and perspectives. Our schools must be a place where every student is welcomed, accepted, and valued, regardless of their race, their religion, or their identity. Readers' choice lists like the Monarch and the Blue Stem and the Caudle pride themselves on creating reading lists for students that offer literary merit, quality, well-developed characters, credible plots, and important themes. I want to thank the librarians and the teachers in our district who have worked hard to find books that excite and engage and educate our kids from early childhood all the way through 8th grade. I urge you, Board, to please continue to offer and support the wonderful Reader's Choice programs for all of our students in Milburn. Thank you.
Kristen Delhurt.
I'm Kristen Daynard, D24 resident. I was at the last meeting too and spoke, and so right afterwards, I kind of like was curious, so I went right to the Cottle 2025 list. Because I wanted to see what was on it, since, you know, the program and the content was controversial. Now, I read all the synopses online. I didn't read the books. I read all the synopses, and I read them kind of carefully. I'm not going to go through them all, but the Inheritance Games, that sounds like a fun book. Falling Short, it's about two kids who want to blend school obligations with basketball. Charlie Thorne, The Last Equation, espionage crime adventure. The Fort, some kids find a bomb shelter out in the woods, but then it morphs into something else. Mohammed Najah, War Reporters, Syria Bombings and Issues. Lasagna Means I Love You. That's actually literally, it's a book about cooking. And this student wants to collect these recipes and learn some stuff about her family. But the takeaway from this is, this just looks like a well-rounded normal list. I mean, it reminds me of when I was in grade school and middle school, and the kinds of books I read. One book a teacher suggested I read was called The Butterfly Revolution. I would have never picked that book up, but that was a really cool book. So, I mean, to me, this is a nice generic list. I don't see any problems with it. Just a nice, fun list. Covers all the things that are mentioned, windows, mirrors, imagination. So, then, my comment then to consider then is to remind everybody that, you are all independently elected of, by, and for the people. You are stewards of our school. You don't own the school. Your role comes and goes. There's important things to take care of. I realize that. Buses, somebody pointed to that thing at the last meeting, so I'm assuming something there needs fixing. Paving the pavement, hiring people, raises, superintendent if he leaves and stuff, but there's some things that I think just are not broken, leave them alone. And you should be representing your community and what's traditional and works. This program has been around in Illinois since 1990. And and the school's been using for a long time. I heard that D34 does the program. I haven't found out for sure if D41 or Gurney uses it. I've yet to find that out. And not that it really matters, but I guess 300 of 700 schools, I guess, was the stats, but to me, that's almost half. That's a lot. So, so then what my challenge to you as stewards is take into account, go back and watch that library trio. That was a great presentation. I mean, that sums it all up right there. And you've heard a lot of great speeches tonight. You've read some letters. You've heard from some great people, some experiences from students and some teachers. That's your decision tonight. This is our school and this is what we want. And I encourage you, if it comes up for a vote, the best answer is to keep the program. Thank you.
I'm Alicia Keys. I have worked and volunteered in Milburn District in several capacities for over 15 years. All three of my sons attended Milburn kindergarten through 8th grade. As a parent, I've seen my own boys positively benefit from the Reader's Choice program. One was motivated by the books, so that grew his love of reading. One was motivated by the prizes, which kept him reading. And even my most reluctant reader really liked being part of the voting process. I've also seen the benefits of the Milburn students while both working in the middle school media center and while running the book fair at the elementary for many years. I happened to be in the media center this year when students were voting for their favorite coddle, and it was so great to see how excited the kids were about the books and the voting in the program. The Reader's Choice program is vital to our district, especially in the middle school where we know that reading for enjoyment starts to drop off. Part of the reason families move to this district and tolerate the high taxes is because of the quality of education Milburn provides. It would be incredibly short-sighted and irresponsible to remove such an important program, especially without any real evidence against it and without any thoughtful or actionable plan to replace it. Our parents and taxpayers expect that. I understand that you're putting a Reader's Choice program, it's considered curriculum, which is why we're addressing it here. But in practice, it's really more of a voluntary program. The only requirement involving a coddle book is the summer reading. And even then, families and students are given a list to choose from. After that, really, it's just that. It's a choice. Like no single book is assigned. Kids choose what they want to read. They choose how many books they want to read. And if they read 3 of the 20 books, they get to vote. This board has offered no real evidence to show that the coddle list is left-leaning, just an opinion about one certain book, Stand for Kids. Board member felt this book should not be celebrated in a reading program, but I will tell you, this book will be celebrated by other students as both a mirror and a window. The board has offered no real options to replace the program. There was a suggestion of an approved list of neutral books. A neutral list does not exist. The goal isn't to create a list of 20 books that will appeal to everyone. The goal is to create a list of quality literature so everyone can find something to celebrate. And we know after last week's amazing presentation, how long and involved the process is of choosing quality literature. Our board doesn't have time for that, and they shouldn't. We have professionals in the field from all over the state. We have the highly qualified professionals we hired in our district to do the work we hired them to do. If we are putting the students first, we will continue to inspire reading through the existing Reader's Choice program. Our students deserve that.
Random Stroba.
Hi, my name is Brenda Stroba. I am the media center clerk at Milburn Middle School, and I've been working there for 2 years now. I try to keep the media center inviting by changing it up monthly with different displays and ways to promote the books in the library. I try to keep the kids engaged by displaying books that they may have otherwise not found in our collection of over 20,000 books. I also check out the books to the students and am firsthand witness to the popularity of the coddle program. Yes, some students do love to read the books for the incentives, but I've had several students come to the media center that are not participating in the program for the incentives, but have read a coddle book and they tell me how much they loved or hated the book. And just the fact that they are discussing books with me is a magical thing in middle school. Especially in middle school when reading tends to fall to the wayside for after-school activities and homework. Both of my kids came through Milburn Middle School, and as a parent, I love that my kids were required to read at least one book over the summer from the Father list. It was especially helpful as they got older, and reading became something that I really had to have backup and had a leg to stand on during the summer with a follow program that helped push my kids to read. We would get the list and go on the internet together to see what books sounded interesting to them. And then we would go to the Lakeville Library and pick it up. And sometimes we even read more than one book over the summer, which made me very happy. We had to do our own research at that time because this was before the school started handing out the summary information for the books, which has made it even easier for the parents to know what the titles are about. As parents, it is our job to know what our children are reading, watching on TV, and looking at on their phones. Milburn has done a great job in informing parents what their children may be reading, and the board members need to read more than 3 pages of a book in order to make an educated decision on whether or not to remove a whole program that the school has been participating in for over 25 years. Removing the whole program for 3 pages of a book that touches on a subject that made some board members uncomfortable is ludicrous and makes me think that the follow program is not the one with the political agenda. Thank you.
Megan Conakry. Good evening, I am Megan Conakry. First, I want to thank Mrs. DeCoursey, Mrs. Lancaster, and Mrs. Stocks for their presentation last week regarding the Reader's Choice selection. It was thorough, engaging, and focused on our students. I love how the Reader's Choice process starts with the students. They are the audience and they are the reason for this process. To hear more information about the time and effort that goes into picking these books by these highly trained individuals is truly amazing since it is a volunteer position. These individuals love reading and want to be the best for our students. My parents bought this book for me in the spring of 1992. I was in 2nd grade here at Milburn. And honestly, I did not like reading. The books followed a typical pattern, and I couldn't find any books that integrated any kind of curiosity or imagination. I wanted to read books about female athletes and sports, but that was nearly impossible. At this time, this media center did not exist. We were a K-8 building with 2 sections per grade. We were small, we were united, and we were mighty. We had a very small library, which is now the STEM lab. We also didn't have a single computer here at this time. We worked together as a school to raise money to buy each computer. We met at Sam's Clubs in Gurnee on Saturdays to jump rope for money. We came together not only as a school, but a community for the students. I wrote my name in this book in 1992 in cursive. And I have shown it to each class that I have had for the last 20 years. My mom wrote that my sister read this book on 7/13/97, and in 2005, I proudly wrote my name in this book to share with my first class here at Milburn Elementary, Milburn West, as a teacher and not a student. I love reading now, and it is important to find books and genres to motivate all of our students. This can be incredibly difficult, but a mission that is near and dear to my heart. The Reader's Choice books are a great way to read new and different genres, learn about different cultures, and grow as a reader. I have said that one of my favorite experiences as a teacher is Bluestem baseball. I have volunteered my time for the last 5 summers to read different Bluestems and help write the questions. I love doing this, and I look forward to it every year. When Bluestem baseball comes around, I'm just as excited as the students. I love it. I love the celebration of reading. I love seeing kids come to the media center and discussing the books that they are reading. The joy on their faces when they come down is truly amazing. Seeing them walk in here with the pride to feel that they have read a book, a monarch, a Bluestem, brings a smile to everyone in here. I challenge all of my students every year to read all 20 Bluestems. And I feel very strongly that if I ask my students for a challenge, I take that on myself. For the last several years, I have read all of them, and I'm still working on it this year, but I will finish. I wanted to end with quotes from the students, the main reason we are here. It is fun. I love getting the questions. The books are good. I mean, the books are amazing. They give you different options to pick books at their level. I enjoy the academic competitiveness. People support each other. They lose well, they win well. I can use my comprehension skills to go for harder questions, work as a team. To show a family of readers, I will show you people who will change the world. Thank you.
Julie Moreland.
Hi, my name is Julie Moreland. My daughter is a student here at Milburn Elementary, and she's an avid reader. She thoroughly enjoys the reading programs that have been offered. And I'm grateful for everything that the library has done to promote her reading. I'm here simply as a community member expressing my concern over the possible actions the board may take in eliminating these reading programs. I understand that some may feel that the content in some of the books is questionable. However, I feel very strongly that that is my job as a parent to decide what is appropriate and not appropriate. And not that and it's not, I don't feel that it is the responsibility of the board to make that decision for my family. Thank you.
Dan Collins.
Hello. Okay, so, in light of the fact that there's potentially going to be a vote to make the drastic action to remove the long-standing Reader's Choice program from Milburn, based on short-sighted personal opinions of a board member who was so deeply offended by a book he didn't even read, and made unsupported claims that the entire program is left-leaning and politically bent, I respectfully request the floor table a vote of any kind or decision to remove the program from Milburn until this issue can be given due diligence. This is a beloved and thoroughly vetted program that is being scrutinized over personal opinion of one outspoken board member, although he may be the voice of others, who has been unable or unwilling to provide any factual evidence to support claims as to why our district should no longer participate in the celebrated program. Yet, we were all graciously provided with detailed and transparent information about the structure of the Reader's Choice program and the mechanics of how the book selection process is made. Is made, and the numerous ways the program has provided, has proven to be beneficial to students. Giving any weight to claims that Milburn is better off without the Reader's Choice program is such a disservice to our children and our students. If you don't like the book, don't read it. It is as simple as that. This program encourages kids to love reading and helps them to figure out what they love to read by making it fun and engaging. Participation is optional. So please tell me why we are discussing putting this program on the chopping block. It appears that equal consideration is not being given to the presented merits of this program. Presented merits of this program. Sorry, I got a little alert and now I can't see it. Sorry about that. Okay, there's no one. All right. Oh my goodness. Reader's Choice program. Anyways, this program encourages kids to read, to love reading and to figure out why they love what they read, and participation is optional. So, oh gosh, I am so sorry. I'm slaughtering this. Okay, it appears that equal consideration is not being given to the presented merits of this program and the numerous positive ways the Reader's Choice program benefits all students in this district who choose to participate. The board has a responsibility to make educated and unbiased vote on issues that impact the entire district based on factual information and not personal opinions. As it stands, the facts all clearly show countless benefits of the Reader's Choice program and how it enriches and empowers students to love reading. While there has been zero factual evidence provided that the whole sorry. That the whole program itself is left-leaning or in any ways pushing a political agenda. So I ask again, why you're even entertaining to do away with a program that has so many positive benefits and no negatives. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, can I just make my last point? So here's the big one. You being personally offended as a parent does not give you the right to vote out an entire program as a board member. That is an abusive flex of your position. If you vote today, please do so knowing that you represent this whole district and you have a responsibility to look beyond your own personal biases and opinions.
Erica Peterson.
Hi, my name is Erica Peterson. I have a son who graduated last year from Melbourne. He's now a freshman at Lakes. Started in kindergarten, went through the Melbourne schools, and I have to say that I have always loved this school. I was always proud to be part of it. After hearing from all of you this evening, I am even more proud, regardless of what this board does. All of you should be so proud of yourselves for taking a stand for our kids. And I had a whole statement that I was gonna read. The truth is, I'm not gonna be able to add anything to what you all have said. The one thing that strikes me is that there hasn't been a single person who has stood before you and said, this is a good idea. We have teachers, we have parents, we have librarians, we have graduate students. There isn't a single person who has stood before you to say, wow, this is really great what you guys are gonna do. Let's dismantle this reading program that has provided decades of reading and entertainment and education for our kids. And I can tell you that that's how we learn. We learn about reading about other people, about other places. That's how we get to be better human beings. It is not by shutting off things that we think are too much for our kids. It is by reading the books that you all have presented. So again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening, and please do not destroy this program.
Ms. Hubbard.
I'd like to begin by saying that there is no hidden agenda to the Coddle, Blue Stem, or Monarch list. It'd be a shame to dismantle an entire reading program because of an opinion. This reading program has done our district well for many years, and I foresee the same in the future. If there's serious talk about dismantling this program, I hope there's a replacement that we as stakeholders can compare before we make a final decision. It would be unwise to dismantle a program without discussing a replacement or with making the replacement burden on the teachers. So I'm a math teacher in this district, but I come to you from the side of a parent. I have a sixth grader here in this district. He is not an avid reader, not at all. But he has read 9 Coddle books this year, 9. Super surprising to me because he leans a little more math. I don't know why. But he's read this book, Sam, and he came home with a couple questions, couple discussion topics, and we use that as a teachable moment in our house. We would talk, we would discuss, and it was an organic, teachable moment, teachable content. It was awesome that he felt comfortable enough to come to me. It was great that he was given the opportunity to read this book about the history of racism, which growing up in Melbourne, you might not always get a good representation of. So he learned about the history and how it connects to current racism in our society right now. So I'm completely amazed that one book about the history of racism in our country will make some people want to completely dismantle an entire reading program, kindergarten through 8th grade. My role as a parent is to walk beside teachers and help the education of my child. If I disapprove of a book, I would have no problem contacting the media center, contacting the PLA teachers and saying, you know what, my kid's not gonna read this book. That is my problem as a parent. But my personal opinions on a book should not extend to all of the district. Like should not extend to all of the students of the district. I govern my child, I don't govern all of them, I don't govern everybody. So at the end of 5th grade, as we've heard before, parents get the synopses of all of the books on the Coddle list. If there's something there that I don't approve of, I can contact the people I need to contact and prevent my child from reading it. As a parent and as a human being, I understand that art reflects life. Life has changed a lot since I was in middle school. Art has changed as well. My job is to support my child's learning, foster his emotional growth as best as I can. Dismantling an entire reading program that Milburn has used forever without replacing it with something is not the best move for my child or any of your children.
Mary Haley. Oh.
For the sake of,
My name is Mary Haley. I have a 8th grader at middle school and a 10th grader at Lakes. For the sake of time, everybody here, we don't want you to cut the program, keep it simple. Listen to your community, your educators, your students. So that's it. Thank you.
Sandy Jacobs.
You guys have a hard decision to make. You hold the fate of the Reader's Choice program that we use either continuing or you'll take away the list that have generated interest in for reading for our students. There are close to 1,500 students and over 50 teachers that are awaiting your decision. Will we be able to focus on these diverse lists as we always have or not? I listened to the presentations that trace the history of the Reader's Choice program. It includes Monarch, Newstem, and Rebecca Cottles for our K-8 children. I heard how the committee that picks the books for these lists is chosen. It's made up of teachers and librarians from schools across Illinois. What I heard furthered my respect for this diverse list of books that we offer our children. I want you to know that children are reading because of these programs. In a day and age when children are on their devices more often than not, or that's what it seems like, they're picking up books and they're reading. Not just because they're forced to, not just because of incentives, but because they love the books on these lists. They come to the media center and this is overwhelming. There are at least 1,000 books, I just heard 10,000 books to choose from. Because of the Reader's Choice selections, they can go to one area and choose a book that they want to read out of a much smaller section. They've heard about the plots of these books from their fellow classmates, and they choose to read something that they thought sounded interesting. And it works. It works. We see it every day. Reluctant readers find something they finally like to read. There was a great deal of talk last week about one particular book, Stamped. It's caused controversy over the list. It's one book out of 60. I heard what was said and I wondered what was so wrong with this book. Why did the committee choose it? I read it in the summer, so I decided to read it again to see if I missed something. So this past weekend, I read it again from cover to cover. I was impressed that the book starts with a note titled Dear Reader from the author. In that note on page 6, the author states, and I quote, "Something you will see in this book is that all stories have points of view. And in these pages, you'll hear my voice taking you on this journey." He sets the reader up to know that this is how he sees the history of racism. As the book comes to a close, there's another Dear Reader letter from the author, and it starts with, "Dear Reader, how do you feel? I mean, I hope after reading this book, you're left with some answers." I believe the committee chose this book because of these letters at the beginning and end that give a reader a chance to hear another culture's point of view on the topic of racism and asking that they think about what they read. The theme of the book is that we can improve our way of treating each other if we understand each other's history. I see it as a book about awareness, not a book about hatred. The Reader's Choice program offers diversity in book choices that reflects our schools. Thank you for your time. We await your decision.
Ian Murphy.
Hi, everybody. I'm an alum of Milburn Community Consolidated School District 24, went to Lakes High School, a student at Elmhurst University currently. A couple people have said before, or have kept their comments brief before, I'm going to continue that trend. Plenty of people have spoken at length about the importance of the Reader's Choice program and the Rebecca Cottle program. I want to be another body in the room to state that I support that and I agree with them. Thank you.
We'll have Berkeley Murphy.
Alright, I'm Berkeley Murphy. I'm a law at school. I'm an aspiring jazz musician. I can share my music with the world someday. Alright, so I did some research. So the author of Stamped is Abram X. Kendi. He wrote 3 versions of Stamped: Stamped Racism, Anti-Racism, Racism, and You, Stamped from the Beginning, and Stamped Kids. I can see that. I think that's Stamped Kids.
Yes.
That was in the college program. Okay. And so I'd like to start off from where I would like to pick up from last meeting. You said this has a liberal bias. Well, I did some research on accident. And it says, yeah, Trump is a racist from the author. He says, yes, he's a racist. He embodies every aspect. But he also views racism as a fixed term. It's not an identity. It's not a tattoo. It is describing what a person is doing in the moment, and people change from moment to moment. Meaning that, yes, he supports racist ideologies and policies, but if he changes, the author is totally willing to accept that. All right. And also, if you think this is a leftist and liberal, Trump is a liberal. Like, humor me on this. So a liberal, what does it mean? We provide for a liberal is a person who believes that government should be active in supporting social and political change. And it also says here that, like George Washington, military spending was the most effective means of preserving peace. And President Wilson as well. And Trump said, freedom is a gift from God, not a gift from the government. He's a liberal. Shocker. And so you can choose if your kid wants to read this book. So why are you trying to ruin something fun and informative because you're being petty? Just because you have power doesn't mean you should abuse it. Oh, call Captain Beatty. I don't like this book.
My name is Kendall Royson, and I have no idea how I'm gonna follow that. But I guess I can start by essentially saying, I am a mother of two, a member of the Melbourne community, and absolutely adore living here. I moved into Evanston and would never move back. And tell all my friends when we go back to Evanston, Melbourne is so much better, and trying to get people to move to this community. We sold 2 houses to pay them. But I'm here, I don't need to belabor, very similar to what our people have said, not only in this meeting, but in the last meeting as well. I'm not gonna belabor the point that so many of my community members have so eloquently articulated both today and last meeting. Everyone's made sound arguments, sound objective arguments with facts, citing sources, proven research, compelling stories from avid readers and program participants against this subjective argument. That was based on opinion, not on fact, not on anything else. So it's kind of, I don't need to belabor that point. I think everybody has said it very, very well. Instead of going to approach it from a different perspective, I'm a change manager with Walgreens. When somebody calls me into the meeting, it makes a lot of people very uncomfortable because change is scary, change is inevitable. And those who do not change, unfortunately, get left behind. And with change management, one of the biggest things that we strive to look for, both Walgreens, Harley-Davidson, and any other case, I can cite my sources. I'm happy to share all of my black belts and my pro sign memberships and all of those big corporate sponsorships that make CEOs go, yeah, oh no, why are you here? But the biggest thing from a change management perspective, we always try to look at is when change happens, we try to focus on what people are gaining as opposed to what people are losing. Because when we focus on what they are gaining as opposed to what they're losing, we get them forward momentum, we get them thinking positively of what they're trying to do. What are we gaining from this? And I think what we have heard today, if I can summarize so well what my community members have said. We've heard that the dismantling of this program or the removal of this school for being a part of this stands to nothing. There's been not a single argument made about what we choose to gain. But what you have heard in droves is what you will stand to lose. And in any advisement, I'm never here to make an argument one way or another. My job is to help to show people, weigh this objectively. You put your biases aside and focus on what people are standing to lose, what we as a community stand to lose. Not just
our kids. But a whole community of people. And I think in honor of St. Patrick's Day, to kind of wrap this up, and my own family's heritage, but I want to leave the board here, those who maybe came in here with not really wanting to hear any of this. Maybe not willing to change, maybe not wanting to weigh the pros and cons. I leave that with the advisement, but I also want to leave it with this. With a quote from a famous Irish playwright and critic, George Bernard Shaw. Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. Thank you. We have Kristen Zabo. Kristen Zabo. The big crowd. All right, I'm Kristen Zabo. I am a Melbourne parent myself. We moved here from Florida 5 years ago now. I have an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a 3rd grader. And we moved here because of school districts. We actually bought Dr. Lynn's house back in the day when he was moving. And it has been a wonderful experience. It's been amazing to be a part of this school program that we've seen. I'm not gonna come up here and belabor all the points that everyone else has made. I'm gonna tell you my personal story. My middle daughter has ADHD. She's struggled with it so hard. And this program has opened her eyes to read more than just graphic novels. It has allowed her to expand her reading into other areas, really experience different points of view, different religions, different things that she brings home, and we actually talk about it. And the best part is because the library partners with the school on that program, she can listen to audiobooks. So she has found alternate ways to be super successful, and this program allows that. So I just really hope that you take some of these personal accounts into this decision.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paige, and I'm an 8th grader at Melbourne Middle School. The comic books have been a fantastic opportunity presented to me all 3 years that they've been offered. As somebody who really likes to read, I always have been, and I always will be, having the opportunity to be able to read these books have changed my life. It's a couple of good examples of books that you can read. As somebody who struggles with finding the perfect book, having a list of options of books that you might relate to or that you might be able to see through other people's eyes is something that is mind-blowing. Comic books have been a fantastic opportunity, like I said, and a lot of these books have become my favorites of all time. A couple of examples are Fighting Words, Maybe He Just Likes You, My Life in the Fish Tank, and The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Simmons. These books all cover very important topics, such as sexual assault, living with mental illness, and death in the family, which many people can relate to. Seeing your struggles in a book, it's a really nice feeling to know that you're not alone. These topics are things that middle schoolers really need to create their own opinion on. And when you are taking away books that have been approved by 70 to 80 collaborators on topics that 10 to 14-year-olds can form their own opinions on, because you didn't agree with one book out of so many, why take away that option? You can tell your kids to simply not read a book that you disagree with. Constricting your kids' books is like constricting their right to learn. Not to mention, if kids from other schools discuss a favorite Cotta book and ask you about it, you can't say anything except for my school took that option away. I'm a child in the school who knows what's going on. But unless others have told their children what's going on, kids will be so confused and disappointed when they find out that the program they've grown up with is gone. When you take away the option as a whole, you take away kids' rights to learn things that they need to form their own opinion. Thank you for listening.
And lastly, Casey Lockman.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Lockman. I've been a resident in Melbourne District for about 16 years now. You just heard from my daughter Paige, who's gone to Melbourne her entire academic career. My wife Jody has taught in this school for more than 20 years. I was a founding member of the Epic Board. So you can say that we are a Melbourne family. I see so many people here tonight that I know, and I know for a fact that there are things that we don't agree on. And I look at the board members, the administrators, some of whom I know, some of whom I only know about, things that they've said or voted publicly. And I know that there are things we don't agree on. But I think the one thing that every person in this room can agree on is what we want for our kids. And that's an opportunity for them to have a better life than what we had. I grew up in an incredibly poor rural part of Appalachian, Ohio. And I think about the opportunities my daughter has had at Milburn. She hasn't even finished 8th grade yet. She's doing things that I never would have dreamed of as a senior in high school. I think about my mother, who was an educator in that district. She was a teacher, guidance counselor, principal, eventually retired as a director of curriculum. And the opportunities that my wife has had in this district far outstrip anything she ever had. We are in this district because of those opportunities. We want a better life for our children than what we had. Everybody wants that. We can all agree on that. That's not an ideological position. That's not a left-wing thing or a right-wing thing. Every single person wants a better life for their kids than what they had. And we work hard to provide that for them. We work hard to live here. We work hard to pay the taxes, to deal with the weather, to dodge the potholes. We work hard to do all of those things. Because it's not about us. It's about our kids. It's about their opportunities. We've all gone through school. All of our experiences were different. Some people went to fantastic schools growing up. Some people went to impoverished schools like I did. Some people were somewhere in the middle. But we're all here right now in this district because of the opportunities it provides. And the role of the school board is to create opportunities for children, to create opportunities for the kids in its district, not to take them away. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, you said that was the last one? Okay, thank you everyone for coming and thank you for your comments. We do have obviously we have a board meeting to get to, so going forward, we're not going to be interacting with you. Don't take it personally. That's how we're supposed to do things. So, please just sit back, enjoy the show. All right. Do we have any addition of non-action items? What? Okay, no. All right, action items. 6A, approval of board policy 460, purchases and contracts.
So as I briefly touched on in the last board meeting, there was a minor update made to board policy 460 purchases and contracts to increase the low bid threshold from $25,000 to $35,000. So this is part of the Illinois State Code law. I'm asking that the board approve that update to the board policy just so that it reflects what's the current law.
I move to approve the board policy update for 60 for purchases and contracts.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, approved contract with National Investigations for April 2024 residency checks.
Okay, so in the past, we have used an outside firm to help us do residency checks to make sure that students who are attending our district live within our district and following state law. So we used National Investigations in the past to do that. You've seen, I sent the contract out last week to review. It would cost $5 per family, not per student, but per family to do a residency check. And then if there's any follow-up investigations, they would help us with that. So we're not going on doors with awkward conversations about where people are living. So are there any further questions about that or concerns?
I need a motion in a second.
I move to approve the contract with National Investigators for April 2024 residency checks.
Second.
With a second, I need a roll call.
Bradley Murphy,
Yes.
Peter Petrini,
Yes.
Jillian Phelps,
Yes.
John Ruggles,
Yes.
Brad Scott,
Yes.
Lisa Wooster,
Yes.
and John Lorenzen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Main event, participation in the Reader's Choice Awards program. Who wants to get us started?
I could start the discussion on it. I've heard a lot of what was said tonight. It's not one book. Three sentences in one book. And I know we're not engaging in problem, but I want to say this so everybody can hear, because I know my name's gonna go from that. I seem to give my opinion. What I do is I want to be transparent with the board and the community about how I feel and which way I would vote on a certain thing. It's not that, and I agree with probably 98% of everything anybody said here. I wonder, however, and I know there's a lot of people here and there never are at these meetings, but this must be a hot topic. And I know there were some Facebook groups that said, hey, let's pack the board meeting. And it's interesting that the group that did it, that I saw, clearly states we're here to elect Democrat candidates. So the list does come, it's not a book that's making me, that's not my, what I have an issue with is a list, again, that is left leaning. I would also have a problem with the list that was right leaning. I wonder if these same arguments would be made if I brought out PragerU's list, if everyone would still feel passionate about, we need kids to be open to this.
That is the same.
Thank you.
So when someone comes up and says, well, it's one opinion about one book, that particular author fully admits he's an activist, he's progressive, and he's political. So when you come up and say it's not, well, when a board member says it's not, they admit they are. Now, having said that, I don't want books taken out of the library. People talk about things being equitable. And if we're going to celebrate a one-sided list, I have an issue with not celebrating a neutral. Someone said, well, what's wrong with celebrating a neutral list?
No such thing.
Hey, thank you.
Someone said, that's okay. I mean, I won't respond, but I do want to respond to what's been said, because we're gonna have a discussion about this. I do understand, and I know many of you here, some are my neighbors, that I break bread with. I think if you can say to yourself, we would, if the list was right leaning, we would feel the same. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. You have my vote. So what I would proposing is, let's have a neutral list, or have our educators come up with something that the kids can read off of. If you have to read, let's just say you have to read 15 books from the Caudle list to have a pizza party. Why can't we say, if you just read 15 books, you get a pizza party? Why does it have to be from the Caudle list? And I haven't read every book, but I've read more than 3 sentences of one book that seems to be insinuated. You can read the synopsis of a book and the reviews of a book and excerpts of a book. You get a pretty good idea if there's a message in that book that's political. Okay. So I do understand that, and everybody says, well, nobody here is saying, let's do away with the list. Everybody here is saying, let's keep the list. That's a strong argument, I agree. But I don't think that there was a push to rush people out to meeting to do away with the list. Do we need to maybe think about it more? I don't know. Maybe.
So John, to your point, from last meeting, I did reflect on like what we all said, and I think the question of like, I don't think we need to be looking at it as a political viewpoint, right? It's a book and it's by educators and librarians, and experts that are beyond the board's capacity. I did read the book from cover to cover, and I didn't find any example of it being a right leaning or a left leaning. It actually talked about, when we talk about modern presidents, it talked about from like George W. Bush all the way to our last and current president. So I didn't see that there was a political agenda. I was just using examples on all. The other thing that I looked at was that other states also had, you know, statewide books, and like, so when I'm looking at, they had like a statewide, their book programs. So I looked at states that were from the last 5 years seen as a red state, and the last 5 years seen as a blue state. So Florida, for example, had a book called Carry Me Home, which talks about homelessness. Texas had a book called Ain't Burned All the Bridges, which is about race and what it's like to be a Black teen. That's Texas, right? Those two states have been predominantly red in the last 5 elections. And then you go to California in 2021, they actually had a title called Long Way Down, which talks about teenage gun violence. So again, like, these are really heavy topics, but they're topics that our students need to know about to be really 21st century learners, right? And going back to our mission, Milburn exists to create a culture of learning that inspires and empowers students to enrich our community. These books enrich our community, they enrich themselves as students, and they're able to then go into the world and maybe change policy, change one person's mind. So I don't think we should get rid of the book, right? There's been a plethora of reasons why we shouldn't get rid of them, and I agree. If anything, it's just another way for our students to read. And then there was a study done in 2010 by Olivet Nazarene University. It was the first study done about the Cautilus to see the correlation between reading comprehension and reading skills. And there was a plethora of information of like positive growth of why that reading list was worth it for everybody to be a part of. So I respect your opinion. I do have to disagree. I don't think it's a political leaning, left or right. It's a book list, and we're here to celebrate our kids and their education.
Okay, so has the argument then shifted, because last week what we were saying was anything to get the kids excited about reading, which I'm good with. And I said, and then I posed the question, why do we need a left leaning, in my opinion? And I think the author of that book will tell you, yes, he's left leaning and an activist, if you ever seen him speak. So the argument went from, this list gets our kids excited about reading, and we want them to be excited about reading, and they read more books. And I think I said next to you saying, I agree with everything you said. The one question I posed is, why this list? Why? So now you're making a different argument that I think others here have made as well. Well, we need them to think critically. This list now provides for critical thinking, which I think is a different argument. It's one worth having. But it's not what we were talking about last week. So where we totally agreed last week, if we want to talk about subject matter, that for me is a different argument. And we can discuss the merits of that. So if the argument then is now anything to get the kids reading, and we agree on that. So now what do we use to get the kids reading? And is it appropriate material? Is it slanted material? Is it that sort of stuff? That again, now we're getting to matters of opinion as well as to what's appropriate for kids, or is someone trying to push an agenda?
But that's what the committee is for. I mean, you have 80 educators and librarians that have been, you know, they go through a 3-year process, right? They volunteer for it. So I don't know how much more of a list that you need.
I would like to see 10 books out of the 100 that have a right bent to it, and then I'll.
But I think, Don, I think you're looking at it too, it's as a board member, we need to think above like the whole forest, right? Not just the trees.
Totally agree. But when you say,
But
this committee is 80 people and we should listen to these 80 people.
But they're
If these 80 people all think the same
But they
way,
don't, because they're from all parts of Illinois, and I know for certain that not every part of Illinois thinks the same.
okay.
For that to be, for you to think that that's not as open-minded.
Then show me the diversity in the list.
But it is right here. I literally, so you can see, for example, Starfish is a student that deals with self-image, body weight, right? That's, and some people consider that be a left-leaning thing of like vanity and, you know, wanting to be, you know, the picturesque. The other one I read was, the one from this year, about Syria. Some people might say that that's a controversial topic, that like, oh, this president chose to go to Syria, or this, you know, Congress chose to do that. Like, I think we need to stop looking at it politically and just see it for what it is, which is a book list for our students to choose whether or not to read it or not to read it.
And now we're back to the argument, completely agree with you on.
I feel we're going in circles.
We are, because we're presenting two different arguments. I want to.
I think we should just participate. It's a great book. It's a great reading program. At the end of the day, that's all it is.
Again, if every book if none of the books on the list have a conservative.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, guys, we listened to you. Now you get to listen to us. None of us interrupted you. So this is your time to let us talk. That make sense? Thank you.
So if you can't find one book on there that has a conservative bent to it, then I start thinking, this committee might be pushing an agenda. And that's just all I'm saying. And again, I'm one member of the board. That's how I feel.
And what other evidence do you have that the whole list is left leaning? You haven't provided any evidence saying the whole list. Because
I don't
one
think the whole
author-
list is.
That's what you said last week, okay.
No.
Just because one author is, and disclaimer, I'm so far left, I think Joe Biden is right there. That's what me. Okay, that's what me, when you threaten to send in the National Guard to crush a strike, like, you're not a left winger in my opinion. You talk about rewards, like a pizza party for a neutral list. Pizza and the dairy associated with it is a product of Nixon taking money from the dairy industry. He did. And that's how we have government cheese and milk in elementary schools. I think that having the pizza party is right wing. That's my opinion.
Are you serious?
Nineteen
Having a
74.
pizza party. is right-wing?
1974, Nixon, why do you
Come
think we have
on.
government
When's the last
cheese
time
and
you had
dairy in
pizza?
elementary schools?
When's the
Let him
last time
talk,
you had
let him talk, let him talk.
pizza? I'm sorry, I just.
Watergate tapes, $2
Come on,
million.
I'm not refuting it, but.
I admit,
I want to hear from all the members as well. I mean, like I say, I just don't want anybody to think, I want to be out there and say, this is how I feel. And I can be convinced of one way or another if an argument is created, but I'm going to ask questions the way others ask questions. If 100% of the books are either down the middle or left, at what point do you say, this maybe is a left-leaning list? And now we're celebrating it, and the teachers are saying, read from this list. And I know my son, when a teacher tells him to do something other than maybe eating in class, if a teacher tells him, check out this book, he's gonna do it. Someone said, I wouldn't, one of the comments before was, we can go as long as we want, right?
Yeah, you
Because I
can.
want everybody to speak too. I think it's on for every discussion. I don't want to be involved everybody's. Someone said, and I think it was a great argument, but self-selected versus teacher selected is you should let the students select the books. And said evidence of why self-selected students are better, and said this is why we should keep the columns. Students should select the books. And I'm saying exactly right. Let's let the students select the books. A list now is not student selected. A list now is teacher or committee selected. So I agree with that argument. And I think the argument actually says, why do we have a list? So, and there's other things, and that's how I feel. I feel if we're going to celebrate and promote a list in our curriculum, I don't think it should have a political bent. One way or the other. That's just how I feel.
I hadn't done a lot of research on the CAUDA list before the last board meeting. I was aware of the book Stamped, and it's very controversial. So I took a deep dive. I spent a lot of time over the last week, looking into the previous lists, current lists, and I think it's hard to say that there isn't a left lean to the books that are listed on there. And this could be due to the composition of the selection committee, their personal beliefs, or the attitudes within the educational community. There's a clear lack of balance in the representation of conservative viewpoints on the list. It's been proven that there are benefits to children choosing their own books to read. This allows them to take ownership of their reading experiences. And this sense of ownership fosters a feeling of responsibility for their learning journey, motivating them to actively seek out books that interest them and invest more effort into reading. Choosing books involves critical thinking skills such as decision-making, evaluation, and reflection. And there's definitely a meaningful argument to be made for students selecting, books of interest to them. I think what John and I kind of share the same viewpoint on is we don't want to kill like reading in the middle, like in all the grades. We want all the books to be in the library, but there's something to be said to present kids with a list that is definitely politically leaning towards one direction. But I don't want a conservative list. I don't want a left-leaning list. Students, if they want to go and check out one of those books and read it, that's fine, but it shouldn't be presented to them as something that they have to choose off of this list. And that's where my stance is as of right now.
More than one of you have mentioned, and this is the audience, how impactful, especially books that have been read by our teachers, have had long-lasting impressions and been influential in my development. So much so that some of you use those same books today as teachers and are reading them. And I know that my son's 11. And teachers are God. I mean, he comes home, Daddy, so-and-so said that it was the best thing. Daddy, so-and-so did this. Oh my God, we laughed. It was so great. He's the best. And that's wonderful. What's not wonderful, and I'm not saying people do this, but these two have a point. If teachers are only reading specific books to kids, that's not a fair representation of ideas, of beliefs, of people in the community. Now, if students are able to go and pick any list, any book off this list from the library, because they'll always be here, student choice actually creates better results in reading comprehension. Kids get excited, not about a list. You get them excited. Teachers get kids excited, not an inanimate list. Librarians get kids excited about reading. But if we're only choosing from one list that has been proofed and vetted by experts, and I'm not saying teachers and librarians aren't experts, they certainly are. However, not all teachers are reading experts. A lot of teachers are just teachers. Unless we all have separate reading degrees and reading credentials, then we're not experts in that. And maybe not all librarians are experts in how to teach reading. So we have some discrepancies that are worth talking about here. If the students are still able to pick these books, then what's the harm in letting them pick the books and not celebrating a list? If we have a list that exists here and no one on the board speaks up, it means we all support it. And what that also means is everyone in the community supports it. That's pretty much what it means.
Hey,
So,
hey,
if you look around, the overwhelming pie shape we have here is all one voice. We don't have any other voice, except for maybe a few of us. So
thank you.
I'd like to say what I have to say, since I listened to you guys politely and I smiled, and I like to hear what you have to say. It's valuable to me.
I'd like to respond to what he just said.
No,
And so
thank
the
you.
issue becomes, what about voices that aren't my voice? What about voices that don't feel the way I do? What about those that aren't here tonight? Don't these voices deserve representation?
Thank you.
So this is something that we need to talk
Thank
about.
you.
This is something that we should talk about. I listen to you, ma'am. You can listen to me. What we talk about needs to be as neutral as possible. Hey, you want to have all of these great books, and I agree, these are good books. But there is somewhat of a bent here.
Where's your evidence?
If we're looking at,
You have provided
Where's
any
the evidence?
evidence.
Can
How
I-
do you quantify what
can
is
I
political
talk?
meaning? I don't understand how that.
that's fine. We have a book that's pretty much promotes racial essentialism. Skewed history, And that's reductive in its analysis of societal trends.
What's?
There's books that have this, there's other books that talk about pretty controversial stuff. Regardless of presidents and whether we like them or dislike them. Lambasting a president and calling him a racist, I don't care who that president is, even if that's Biden, that's not such a great thing. What are you telling your kids?
This book does not call him a racist.
It does not at all.
Somebody said that,
But
That is
somebody
inaccurate.
got up here and quoted the book. A person quoted the book.
No, that's.
Well, hold on, let me just finish on my little spiel. Let me just finish on my spiel.
I'm sorry.
My whole point here, and it's lovely to have you, I think these are great discussions, I really do. And you don't have to agree with my opinion, that's fine. And I don't have to agree with yours, but it's nice to hear what everyone has to say. The point is, we have to be representative of all sides, period. We can't have one thing saying this, one thing saying that, much like some of these others have spoken of. I don't want any leaning list. Let's talk about controversial topics. Let's talk about all these things as teachers, as librarians, as professionals, and as parents. But let's talk about them in that schema.
I think you did it 24 years.
So you have the issue, I haven't seen any evidence that the entire list is left leaning. Provided no evidence.
I don't believe the entire list is left leaning. I think there are folks on the list that don't lean left.
And I wonder
There's plenty.
where this is coming from, because for the past year I've been on the board, you've been supporting using district money to pay bills for right-wing companies. Line has spent millions of dollars and they give money, the owners, to an organization who in their mission statement says they want to punish leftists. Now, that's who our employees choose to purchase from. I haven't heard any complaints from you about using them as a vendor.
I
And
think
so
that's
you're
the-
arguing that you want it to be neutral when you had no problem spending $8,000 between Menards and Uline over the past year alone. I don't think that you're being completely honest.
Well, if you present to me that buying from Uline and Menards is the racist or right leaning and you want to have a discussion on it, that would be news to me. I don't know that. If you can present that to me.
I think we're getting away from the topic.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a bit of a
Let's
distraction.
talk about the book
But
program.
I do want to say one thing to what Peter said, and I mentioned this before, there aren't people here defending removal of the list. And I can tell you that based on the way everybody has acted in here over the last few minutes, why would someone who advocates for it in this community come here and get ridiculed? You're shutting down conversation by when someone says something opposite of what you agree with, the room goes crazy and everyone starts laughing. That's shutting down conversation. That's not,
It doesn't foster it.
it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't foster that. I agree. So I can tell you from personal experience. And again, the reason I brought up that one book was because Fred had asked me my experience, so I gave my experience. So it wasn't one book. From personal experience, I have had at least a dozen people that I know, when they find out about this, say, what are we doing? What are we promoting?
And I think, Jonathan, you need to check your biases because you're a board member for the whole community, not just one part.
Totally agree. I'm one voice
Right.
for the entire community. And in my opinion, in my experiences, this community is cut right down the middle politically.
I think we need to spend away though from political talk and like what's best for our students and what's best for the future and what's best for the Milburn district.
Totally agree with you. So I would have to be convinced that the Caudle list is not political, and I believe it is.
I would have to be convinced that it is political. You provided zero evidence, talking about one author. Because everybody has beliefs. And I think it goes back to what Crystal Penn and some others have said about our role as board members. When Jason isn't in the building, he doesn't text all of us every morning saying he's not going to be here. We don't make him punch a time card. We have faith in him. We have faith in Ben, in Adam, in Carly to do their jobs accordingly. I don't have a librarian's degree. I'll admit that I read a lot of Cliff Notes when I was in middle school. I have faith in them. That's what it comes down to for me. I don't want to have to read every teacher's lesson
Agree
plan.
with everything you just said. I have complete faith in Ben and Jason as well.
They're men.
All right. Brendan,
Again,
what are your thoughts?
that really promotes conversation. Let's just call everyone a racist or a sexist or a this and a populist. I mean, that shuts down conversation. That doesn't win hearts and minds or create an argument. Like I've said to Fred and I are complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Well, I don't know, complete opposite, but but we can still find common ground. I mean, we wanted to reduce registration. If you talk and you don't shut one another down, I think you're gonna find we can get more common than we don't. So I just don't think that's necessary. I don't want to shut anybody down. I actually probably shouldn't have encouraged breaking the rules and having those things read in. But I don't want to shut down conversation. I want people to have discussions. And again, here I am about you conversation. I'm one person. I'm one member of this board. So.
Brendan?
I've been searching for bias and anybody who's mentioned any bias in the CAUTL list, and I don't find any. I've done several different searches for it, so I don't see anything. I do think we have a list, and there's very important reasons for having a list curated by experts, is because they're choosing a range of appropriate literature for the students who will be reading them. And there's many reasons for that. First of all, so it's high quality literature. Second, they have created synopses of all the books so that parents can know what's going on, and the children can look at the books and say, this is what I want to read and this is what I don't want to read. But also it creates a shared experience. To say, read 20 books in the library, I think somebody said there was 10,000 books in this library. The chances of students reading the same books are pretty slim on that. So we have a list of 20 books. Everybody's going to read from that 20 books. You can choose what you want. You only have to read one, or you don't have to do it at all. So that creates that shared experience for the students to share, hey, I read this book, I love this book. And we've heard from people who were saying, you know, they were sharing from each other what books they read and making suggestions to each other. I don't see a political bent in this, but I don't think that we're going to convince you that there isn't, because I think your mind was made up last week and it's not going to change. And I don't hear you listening to other people. We've got 50 or 60 people in here. And I don't know why there wasn't anybody from a different view. I understand, yes, our community is pretty 50-50 split between Republicans and Democrats, at least as the voting has gone the last several years, but you know, I don't know why there's only one half of the group here. We rarely have anybody here, and obviously this is a touch point for our community, and overwhelmingly, you know, maybe next year we could put this off and wait for 2 weeks and people can get out the word, and we'll see if somebody comes in our next meeting and says, well, we weren't here, but we're here now. We want to give the other side of the story. So that's all I have to say.
Did you all, since the topic of racism and slavery is here, did you know that Milburn Community Church was a stop on the Underground Railroad? Yes. Yeah, it's, I would go to scout meetings there as a kid. Even though when I was young, I used to live in a sundown town. Those who don't know what it is, it was basically after the sun went down, if you were black, you would get arrested. Kenilworth, Illinois. They didn't allow Jews to buy property there until the 1970s. That's recent. Libertyville used to be a sundown town. Now Libertyville District 70 has a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. People change, the times change. We have women on this board because times change. You have to be able to vote, women should not be able to vote. That's why they're here. Change is the positive driver for lots of things. Sometimes you have to have uneasy conversations with your kids. I remember my kids watching Wild Kratts. It's about two brothers, animals, and there's poachers in there. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that some people want to fly halfway around the world just to kill an elephant for fun? Like that's a tough conversation. Part of being a parent, part of being an elected official is doing the tough things. I'm a nerd. It's life. I have spent more money than I care to admit on movie and TV show props. One company that I used to buy from then started selling Indiana Jones memorabilia. There's Nazis in there. So some of the memorabilia had swastikas in it. I sent the CEO an email saying, I don't agree with this. I think this is wrong. I don't think you should sell this. I understand it's a prop, but it's still perpetuating something. He responds to me, we understand where you're coming from, but we respect the rights of the person to sell it. I contacted our US Congress people saying, hey, I think this is wrong that they're selling Nazi memorabilia. They say, hey, free speech. This past fall, I got to listen to the former president of the ACLU on her book tour, talking about how under the important umbrella of free speech, we must allow Nazis to march. We must allow the Confederate flag to be flown in the spirit of preserving free speech. And I think that comes down to what it is here. Part of being an American is criticizing your elected officials. Part of being an American is hearing speech you don't agree with. You're saying it's not about banning the book, and I get it, participation in a program. I'm not going to spend the time to make a list. I have other things going on. I think our librarians have enough going on. They don't need to curate their own list. There's already a system in place. If people don't want to participate in it, they don't have to.
So change is good, change is good, change is good. But because we've done this for so long, we shouldn't change it. It's kind of like, I mean, you said kind of two different things there.
The book list changes every year.
Right. No, you said we're gonna do Caudle, we're gonna do the readers group because we've been doing it forever and we should just continue to do it forever.
I didn't say that. I said I trust our librarians. And if they come up with an alternative, I will put my faith in them. I'm not going to spend the time to vet 300 books over 3 years. I'm going to trust them to do their job. And if they find a superior list, I will stand behind them. But that's not our job.
Well, let me ask you this. If you said, well, I agree with you that if the list is left leaning, we shouldn't celebrate it because that's not equitable. That doesn't represent the entire spectrum, right? So if we agreed, if you said, John, you know what, I agree with you, it's a left-leaning list. Would you then say we shouldn't participate in it?
We already do things that are right-leaning.
No.
And I've spoken out against those things.
No, I'm talking about if we said this was a left-leaning list. And it's completely left, but would you still want to be part of the program? You think that's equitable?
What, I don't see the basis for
That's
what
not
you consider left leaning.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I am so far left that I see other people who. claim
If
to be
every
left
author
as
on
right.
this list stood up and said, I'm a political activist for left causes. I'm saying if this,
But I think that's getting away from the purpose.
no, that's exactly what, it goes to Brendan's point. He said, I'm not gonna convince you that the list isn't left leaning, which is true. I believe the list is left leaning. There's authors on the book that state they are.
But do you believe the list is good for the community of Milburn?
I believe the books are, yes.
So then the list is good. for
What
the
I have a
community.
problem with, if anyone's listening, I don't have a problem with having the books in our school. The parents can encourage their kids to read the books. Teachers can evaluate the kids, and if the kids say, I'm looking for something different, maybe make a suggestion of, well, what are you looking for? And I know what those books are. The issue I have that I have said from the beginning, when I said, everybody was here last week, I agree with everything you're saying. Diverse thought, diverse opinion, equitable opinion, if you want to say that. I agree with all that. I'm wondering why, and I still haven't heard anybody answer this question. I know I only took a shot at it. Nobody's told me why this list. Why do we have to have a list that leans one way or the other?
We don't have
And
to have a list that
celebrate it.
leans one way or another. We have a list of curated books by experts for children that are appropriate for their age. So it's a shared list that the children and the school can come around something. It's not, they're not choosing the books based on their political bent. They're choosing books based on their appropriateness for students of the age that they're reading.
I know that, the CAUDL list, this is not the first time it's been brought up, right? It's been brought up in previous years. So I think the argument about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate is different for everybody, right? So I'm still at the point where I think the best solution is students should have free choice and pick those books that they want to pick. And if they want to pick a CAUDL list, wonderful. If a book off the CAUDL list, that's great. If they don't and they want to pick a book that they're really interested in, why would we frown on that? We're telling them they have to pick off of this list. Only if they want to participate as a curriculum. Right, no, it's part of the curriculum. They have to read it, write a report on it.
That's really, no, it's not part of the curriculum, it's just part of a program, so if your student doesn't want to read the 3 books and be part of the extension, they don't have to. But it's an option just to get students to be in these programs, which is what we got that committee about, and we've got the history of it. It's just a separate entity compared to the curriculum that's already being taught.
So it's not part of our curriculum. So if you tell an incoming 6th grader, by the time you get to school, I want you to have read a book over the summer from the CAUDL list that we can discuss the first week in school.
Okay.
That's not part of the curriculum.
But if your child does not want to read that book, they don't have to. You can talk with that teacher, or you can talk with the principal, and then you can find a different list, and they can have a whole different.
Why can't we just say read a book
Because
over the summer and we'll talk about it when you can.
Because the experts, which are the librarians and the teachers and the educators and public librarians, thought that this book would be a better platform for students because of the themes, the topics, and it's just a really great book of all, like, really like 100 amazing, perfect book.
But that's your opinion.
But it's not an opinion.
And but it's still the opinion of
A committee
Yeah,
that's
it's
been
still an
vetted,
opinion.
that's
There is
been-
no scientific, like, right.
Right.
Oh, what if the rubrics was, is this appropriate for students? That is totally opinion based. So it's not like this is some type of science. I'm not super against, I think kids should be able to choose. And if it upsets half of the community, we want to be equitable and everyone's voices want to be heard, then I just don't see the harm in still having the books. You can read the book, you can choose the book. We're not trying to get rid of the books. Why does it have to be this list? That's my only argument. Like, everything else is opinion based. You have an opinion, I have an opinion, Fred has an opinion, Pete has it, we all have an opinion about it.
And again, it's cutting down the 10,000 books in the library down to 20 so that the shared experience happens. That is a really important part of the reading.
But some of those books on that list, not all of them, some of them, half the community isn't okay with. So why are we taking
Which is
from the?
why they have created the synopsis of the book so that you can work with your children to choose a book that you feel is appropriate for your child.
And like I said, I took a deep dive, you guys. I took this seriously. I looked at, so you read these books for, no, I went through and I looked at synopses. I read parts of the books. I did a deep dive. There are definitely, fine, in your opinion, again, in your opinion. So I just feel like there is definitely a lean, a political lean. A lot of the books have to do with social justice. And, yeah, those do have a political lean. So I would like to see student choice. That's my opinion. You have your opinion. That's great. That's where I'm at.
So if I gave you a list, and I'm gonna read this list. These are books. Who has privilege? What are your kids learning in school? How the left sees the world, power, race, and class. What's wrong with the 1619 Project? The intolerance of tolerance. Frederick Douglass, From Slave to Statesman. Why I don't want and don't deserve reparations. And I said, that's a list we should celebrate because 80 scholars put together this list and it gives it credence. So what's wrong with this list?
Who are the 80 scholars and what was the purpose?
This list is straight from the PragerU.
So,
Okay, so having said that, and again, I don't even know that much about PragerU. All I did was look up a right leaning and they admit we're right leaning our list. So just to say that the experts looked at it and the list is okay, does not mean it doesn't have a political bent, because I'm telling you right now, that list does. And they say it doesn't. Well, actually, they kind of admit that it does, I shouldn't say.
they say it does because they're a program, they're a group that is created specifically to push an agenda. The Cotto list is not a group specifically created to push an agenda. They're a group
I don't think it was
created
created.
to build a list of books. for
Again, I
students
agree
to
with
read.
you. I agree with you that that's not the reason
And
it
if
was
there's-
put together. I think it's morphed into something over the years.
And
which is
again,
why
we're
it
not
needs to be
gonna
looked at.
change your mind on that, so maybe we can move on.
Okay. All right, so, board, what do we wanna do? Yeah. Board, what do we wanna do?
I think we should have faith in Jason. I think we should have faith in Ben and Jake. And we should have faith in our librarians to do what we hired them to do. I don't think this is something that we.
Are we going, like, are we?
Like, move on to.
I don't have a motion on the floor, so. There's not.
I would like to make a motion for Milburn District 24 to withdraw our participation in the Reader's Choice Award Program. This motion does not remove the literature from the school libraries. This motion is to eliminate the promotion and celebration of a program that is not equitable for all members of the community.
I second that motion.
Oh.
Do we want to have more
Can
discussion?
we have a voice vote on that?
I think we've exhausted.
We can have a voice vote.
I would like a voice vote.
All right, Madam Secretary, read the roll.
Peter Reading,
Yes.
Jillian Phillips,
No.
John Ruggles,
I'm very uncomfortable right now because I want to talk.
No.
You talk.
We talked this over.
If I have to make a decision now, then it's, what's the motion?
To withdraw.
If I have to make a decision, I want to withdraw. If I'm forced to make a decision tonight, I want to withdraw.
So that would be a.
So,
together,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Fred Scottrell,
No.
Lisa Wooster,
Yes.
John Lorenzen,
Yes.
and Brandon Murphy.
No.
This is a disgrace. Yeah.
Motion passes.
Hey, I'm speaking as a speaking of the library, I'm not speaking, you guys can go back to your board member. You know what? And now you get active. Now what you do, you take this and you make something happen. This is what they show. We show the community, if they wanted to be here, they ready to be on the local news, everybody. Our community. Yeah. Don't vote, and when people move them from the audience, that's what I'm moving out of it.
I also.
All right, let's keep moving on. Thank you.
There's an election tomorrow. I encourage everybody to vote tomorrow morning.
approve the proposed school board meeting dates for the 24-25 school year.
Are these the dates we already talked about?
Yes.
I just want to thank you for. Thank you for everything you said.
Could we move the Monday?
You want to move on Monday?
December 9th or December 16th?
Let's wait till.
Jason, you have a copy of the calendar? All right,
Is it on? The link, link.
I think it's in my other folder. That's no big deal. No, I got it.
Got it?
Yep.
We need to wait for Brendan or can we move on?
So, I'm confused, did Ronald vote yes?
He voted to remove the program.
Yes. Did he say it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No business talking about letting somebody
Okay, we have a draft. We have a draft of the schedule for the board meetings for next year. Fired up. December 9th, I propose moving to December 16th, just to make it later in the month. We only have one meeting in December, so moving it back a week pushes it more toward break and gives us a little more time to do the business office stuff. Not yet. Thanks. Okay.
That's just one
We'll
week
say we're
later.
back to December 16th.
Yeah, December 9th to December 16th.
Is it?
Right? Am I right? Make sure.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
When? Okay. So the tax levy would need to be provided to the county, I guess, by the 30th. They'll probably be open.
For December?
Yeah. I think
Oh,
we're
it's,
fine. I'm
but
just
that would
making
help us
sure.
get time.
It would. I just want to make sure that like
Yes.
it gets approved and there's time to get it over there. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't bring my copy from last.
Here, I'll put those dates. So I'll put it up. That's great. I can do that. Okay. Yes.
Well, since we don't have school on the 14th, right? We're not having, or do we have school open? On the 4th, Indigenous Peoples' Day?
We are in school.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an option that we have. We can go either way with that one. Because other people will have it off.
So November 25th, the week of Thanksgiving. maybe push that one up a week to the 18th,
We'll be in Chicago for the board.
on the 18th, on
Yeah.
Monday?
I think Thanksgiving's the
Oh, I'm
21st,
sorry.
isn't it?
Thanksgiving's the 28th.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Oh,
I was
it's the
thinking-
28th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just,
Yes,
so I think we should move the 25th
but not because we have no school that week.
to, yeah, so move that to the 18th,
Move this one to
yeah. And you're saying move December 9th to the 16th? Is that what you're saying? No, that was your.
Yes, that's my.
And that's for only one,
In
and that's a
December.
regular meeting, not a foul.
Right. Correct. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, what did we pick for the? We're here on the 14th, so that's okay to meet then of October.
We can do the seventh. We can do
We'll
the
have a
seventh
cake.
or the 14th. We have school on the 14th, but we can do the 7th or the 14th.
I guess it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really
Any
matter.
preferences
Of October?
of October?
Yeah, if we were not in school on the 14th, I would say no, but yeah.
Right,
either's fine.
usually we move that one because we're not in school, so.
Doesn't really matter, I mean, they're all, either way you go, it's a month, so roughly.
Yeah, either October meeting's fine, yeah. So which one? Do the 14th, because that's the second, so we say the second and fourth.
Flip a coin.
We'll stay with the second.
14th?
Yeah.
That's consistent.
And then we're moving November 25th to the 18th. And December 9th to the 16th. Is what we would be voting on, right?
Correct.
I move to approve the 24-25 school board calendar with the suggested changes I just stated.
Second, I think.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second. All right, Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Jonathan Phelps. John Ruggles.
Yes.
Brett Stepstrom.
No.
Lisa Luster.
No, they.
Oh,
We're just
yeah.
approving the consent.
Jonathan Benson.
Yes.
Brandon Murphy. And Peter Petrini.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Is there something wrong with the consent agenda?
We are paying bills to right-owned companies.
All right,
I struggle. I work really hard for this district. During the pandemic, I got a master's degree to do this job. And to sit in these meetings sucks, when we can't come together. And from both sides, like, look and get the facts from each other and meet in the middle. There is no intent of purchasing going towards right or left companies. We could have it both ways. There's a reason why we use Menards, and I'm also saying this too, like, when I'm in this role, I'm never putting my political viewpoint in it. Maybe I agree with a lot you say, but then there's also the running of the district and what it takes. So I will be very bothered if we're going to start seeing control from the board for minor things. So with Menards, we spend maybe a few $100s or $1,000 a month. There's a reason for it. It's because it's part of an audit control. Our other option is going to Home Depot and giving everyone a credit card for Home Depot that we need at all of our building people. We don't want that. So I want to engage at any point with anyone with questions they might have on the business office side, and get those answers out there so we understand why we're doing what we're doing. That's all. I'm sorry, Jason. I know I just completely overstepped.
No.
All the board too. I apologize. I know a lot of you guys, I respect everyone. I respect all sides, but if we could just work through when it comes to anything under my umbrella, why we're doing what we do, I will be happy to share that information with you. If we take that away, it just becomes extra work, and there's a process in place, and trust in what we're doing.
I have ultimate faith in you, Carl.
Thank you.
As do I.
Thank you.
I probably could speak for everybody. I won't, but I probably could speak for everybody.
FOIA.
Okay, that's just down there for informational purposes, the FOIA request. Then we are on to future agenda items, which will be the budget amendment. And superintendent report. Very short. Our math curriculum meeting met for the final time, and so we will present at the April 8th board meeting the final decisions that were made. The teachers worked exceptionally hard to make it work in a short window to get a math decision made. So I really appreciate that hard work. It was amazing.
Can you give us any insight?
Nope. I don't want to spoil the surprise. Articulation with, and we had, I will say, we had to choose between two very good programs. So started with very good programs, and every curriculum has its pros and cons. I was fine with either one, so we're good. It's what works for them. We articulated with District 117 schools today. So part of that discussion was about math, because all of our discussion is often about math when we articulate with our high schools, since we have to articulate with 3 different high schools, and that can be a challenge when they all 3 have different math philosophies and trying to match up. So I think we have a good solution at the middle school going forward that will meet the needs, hopefully, of all of our students even better than we have been in the past. And with our new programming, I think that will get even better. And then next week is spring break, and I think we all need it. So business officer. There's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have one.
All right, board reports. There hasn't been much, so I wouldn't expect it. All right.
The IASB
Oh, the
county division meeting last week. Got to sit front and center, right next to Dr. Carner, so had a lot of eyes on me there. I had made sure to keep my posture nice and straight. The keynote speaker talked about multi-generational communication. They had us take one of those annoying surveys of, are you Gen X, are you a boomer, are you a Zoomer? Coming from a district like Hawthorne that has twice as big of a budget as us, you're able to hire a communications person to just focus on making your things. And you're able to send out postcards and pay for printing and postage. I think it's great that they use so many different avenues to communicate with members of their community. Their superintendent even talked about personally calling community members if they spoke bad about the school or something they didn't like that they read on it. And so they parent would post on Facebook, oh, Pete Hannigan smells bad, and people be like, hey, just tell me we're deodorant, but not those exact things, but something. Yeah,
Very good. It was a good presentation.
Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, I need where's the,
For the purposes of negotiation.
yeah, I need a sheet.
It's number one.
With that,
Number one is what it is.
no, it's not.
It's number two.
Is it?
Number two. And it's a short one.
What does number 2 words like?
All right. I need a motion to go into collective or to go into closed session to discuss number 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 ILCS 20-2C, 20-2C2.
So moved.
Second.
Made, motion has been seconded, call the roll.
Okay, John Lorenzen.
Yes.
Brendan Murphy.
Yes.
Peter Petrini.
Yes.
Julian Faux. Yeah. John Ruggles.
Yes.
Fred Scottrell.
yes.
Lisa Brewster. Yes.
Okay.
Just
We will be
about
going into closed
personality.
session. We
You
will,
guys hear me?
there are no additional.
Are you guys taking a break? Or you go right into?
We can go right in. I didn't,
It's gonna be long.
I was gonna
no,
text.
10 minutes max.
I can do
Hey,
it.
see you. Thanks for coming.
We can do
You
it.
can go, yeah. We'll do this.
Yeah.
We got it.
Well, let's see, all you teamwork, couple cheers.
I still might be home before you.
Was that?
I still might be home before you. You've got a long drive. So to the public, we're gonna close off the streaming because we have no additional action items after this closed session or discussion items.